Welcome, dear listeners, to the WIP show brought to you by Keemiya Creatives, where we dive deep into the world of writing and creativity. I am Namrata, your host and the founder of Keemiya Creatives. WIP, you may ask. Well, it stands for Writing in Progress, and that's exactly what we are about here. Each week, we bring you inspiring conversations with talented writers, delving into their journeys, their challenges, and the stories behind their stories. From seasoned authors to aspiring wordsmiths, we explore the nooks and crannies of the writing process. Whether it's overcoming writer's block, finding inspiration in the unlikeliest of places, or simply navigating the wild, wonderful world of words, we are here for it all. So grab your favorite writing mug, settle into your coziest writing nook, and join us as we celebrate the beauty and the chaos of the writing life. Our guest today is Komal Gupta. Komal Gupta is an award winning Indian poetess and writer based in India. She writes under the pen name of Tejaswiniaura. She's an avid reader with a penchant for the extraordinary and the mundane aspects of life. A keen observer of life, words to her are an extension of perceptions. Komal continues to push the boundaries of what defines poetry, writing with her unique style of narration and reflections. She believes in the power of words, art, and culture to change lives and impact society in positive ways. A social entrepreneur on a mission to empower women in business and artisanal startups, she has worked as a Montessori teacher trainer and preschool principal. So, welcome, Komal. Thank you so much for your time today. Our first question is actually about your pen name, which is very interesting, Tejaswini. So, what inspired you to choose it, and how does it reflect your writing style?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm very happy and glad to be here today. And Tejaswini Aura, yes, I get that question a lot. Tejaswini is bright and radiant. All right. So through my writing, I try to convey a sense of positivity, radiance, setting out hope in the world. So all my poems, I've never told anyone this, all my poems end on a happy note, on a radiant, positive note. So that's how the name came about. I like the name Tejaswini, bright aura. And my writing style, yes, it reflects in the sense that it ends on a positive note, spreading out radiance and happiness in the world. So that's the meaning behind it.
That's a lovely interpretation. So I love the fact that you mentioned, you explore the extraordinary and the mundane aspects of life in your writing. So can you share
Yes.
any mundane moment that inspired an extraordinary piece of poetry in your writing? Any incident that
Yes.
comes to
Mundane in the sense life gets boring at times, isn't it?
mind?
When you're kind of staring at the wall and wondering where your life is going and what are you doing anyway? It doesn't matter. So through those moments, in those moments is that extraordinary thing that came out for me is time. We are all time, aren't we? Aren't you time? Aren't I time? We have timelines, we are doing our work. Everything we do is measured in moments. So that's where my extraordinary moment came through, is time is all encompassing. And I wrote a book on this, a poetry book, Verses of Time.
Wow.
This is that extraordinary thing that came out, this poetry book. And it explores every facet of life from birth to death, to contemplation, to thoughtfulness, to mental health in that book. In those are verses, those are poems. So that from that mundane, trying to figure out where my life is going, to getting that sense of, yes, I'm time, I have to make use of it. That's where the extraordinary came and Verses of Time came. So that's the answer. And I'm very happy this happened because as a writer, I feel is those boring moments that spark something. Something clicks. So
True.
that.
True. Very true. One thing that every person suggests in a writing workshop is also that you should be mindful because you don't know where inspiration comes from. So I love that you mentioned that in a different way, but you mentioned the thing that most of the writing gurus have always said that you never know where inspiration comes from. You just have to keep your eyes and ears open.
Yes, true. Very true.
So So, Komal, we noticed that you're a very avid reader. So, are there any books or authors who have significantly influenced your writing style or subject matter?
Yes, that's also a very, very good question, because I think as a writer, there has to be kind of a spring well inside where everything comes out from. You are unconscious about it, but there's a spring well here in your subconscious about the reading that you've done. And as you grow up, see, writing didn't start all of a sudden when you just started that first letter. It's been there since childhood. It's just waiting to come out. So my basis of writing and source of inspiration has been spiritual books. Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yoganand. And there's this book by Paul Brunton, A Search in Secret India. So these two books, for me, laid down the fundamental basis of how I perceive life, of how I see things. Everything, again, has a meaning. You have to discover, you get bored, you self-respect, reflect, and then you discover something. These books are there. They are the whole course. They guide you towards finding a guru. But in the end, who's the guru? The biggest of them all.
True.
Yourself.
Yes.
It's you have to look inside for that inspiration, and then you'll find it reflected somewhere. So that's been my source. And the latest to sabse naya hai is Matt Haig. He's fabulous books on self-reflections, regrets, and mental health, and how to come out of it. And those have influenced me recently, but the first two books I mentioned, from childhood. I've been reading since childhood. So I think that's where it comes from.
I love your choices. I agree with when you say that the book is very powerful. I think I consider that autobiography of a yogi as the compass. You know, I keep going back to it whenever
Yes.
I'm feeling very confused or lost in life. And then, you know,
Yes.
there is something about that book that you learn every time that you read. There's something new that comes out. There's no that,
Yes.
you know, कि ये पढ़ा हुआ है, ये सीख लिया, ये तो हो गया. There is nothing. That book is like a treasure trove. I completely agree with your recommendation there. So what advice would you give to aspiring poets who are looking to push the boundaries of traditional poetry like you do?
See, again, it circles back to you. The answer is you. Be yourself. Write what resonates. If it resonates with the world, fine. If it doesn't, just keep on writing. Write for yourself first. The world will take notice later. Be true to yourself. That's how you push the boundaries. You don't push the boundaries by conforming to what everyone is writing. You push the boundaries when you're yourself. When you look inside, easier said than done. It takes years. It takes so many years to get to that point, but you will get there. So trust yourself, get bored, be creative, and just write. That's it.
This actually pushes me to ask you one question, which I had not shared in the list that questions, but this brings me to that question. How do you deal with the inner critic that every writer has? Because when you say that I have to write for myself, you know, we have so many versions as a writer, because I write also. You know, we have so many voices in our head that there is one critic also sitting there who is constantly telling you, you know, no, this is not making sense.
I know. Inner critic, I have this huge alter ego right behind me. You know, the inner critic, larger than life, sitting behind me.
Yeah.
So the way that I deal with it is, yes, I do have doubts. When I look at my writing, I said, does this even make sense? Does this, what am I doing? Again, I ask, I've been writing for 7-8 years, even earlier than that. I still ask myself, but then, you know, Tejaswini, that thing, that inner belief, you know, you just kind of, it's easier said than it. I've learned it over time. Pull it out, transfer it, you know, onto the paper, and just let it be. That is how you silence your inner critic. Just go with the flow. Be true to yourself. Easier said than done, I agree. But you just believe in yourself and just write. That's the only way you silence the inner critic. Bahar ke critics are bahut, just forget about them. Just forget about them. They don't matter. Yes, they do matter if you want to build an audience. It depends on everyone's preferences. But if it's your self-reflection, your inner growth that you're looking at, please believe in yourself. Please, that's the only thing I can say. Believe in yourself. It's cliche. Everyone is saying the same thing. Every post is believe in yourself, believe. But when you get to do the inner work, that's when you realize how strong you are.
True.
That's it.
Very true. So if you could collaborate with any writer or artist, living or dead, who would be and why?
All right. I would love to collaborate with Ashwin Sanghi.
Wow.
Because his works have such deep research from behind. He's been working on them for 6-7 years researching. And that's what I love, is the deep dive into things. There's so much to learn, and in the end you realize that you know nothing. So that's one writer. I really look up to him. Would love to collaborate. Next is Ruskin Bond, for the playful element that he brings out in his books. You know, he brings out the inner child. You again become the child. And at times you feel that child inside you. It needs to come out sometime in your writing. So two of them, yes, these two writers are to
Ruskin
collaborate.
Bond, so of course, I also agree. Even at 90, he's able to write so playfully, and he's able to engage generations. I mean, I'm sure even a 10-year-old enjoys his works as much as a 40, 50-year-old person enjoys his writing.
Yes. So, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, in the end, that's what you should aim for, that playfulness, that honesty, that truthfulness.
True, very
So
true.
that's it.
So now time for some rapid fire, Komal. So are you a plotter or a pantster?
Pantster.
Okay, so most of your writing is off the going with the flow kind of thing, nothing.
Yes, going with the flow. Yes, it's such a beautiful process because you never know where it's going to lead. I mean, you write the first draft, you leave it for a few days, and you come back to it, and then start off again. And you laugh at your first draft. I could laugh at my first draft. Hey, what have I written? That's where the joy is of writing. That's where the child comes out. He, kya likha hai? Oh my God. I'm supposed to be an accomplished writer. But that's where the joy of the process comes. So that's why I'm a pantster. I just flow. Yeah.
Very, very well said, actually. The joy of writing, the muse is supposed to be guiding us, and that's it. We all have to just follow.
Yes.
What is your favorite writing snack?
Snack? Does tea count as snack?
No, tea does not count as
No,
a snack. It's a beverage.
All right. Oh, then I'll be very mundane about it. Biscuits. I love tea.
Okay. So, are you an early bird or a night owl when it comes to writing? Like, do you wake up in the morning to write, or do you sit through the night?
Night owl.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I love that's a similarity that we have amongst, of course, the favorite books that you mentioned. I see a lot of similarities. If you could have any fictional character as your writing buddy, who would it be?
That would be Harry Potter. Hermione. Hermione is there now. Oh, I'd love to have her as a writing partner. She would do so much research and just spell, make the pen go and all that. That would be really
She
good.
must be already ready even by the time I actually start sitting and writing
Yes.
down.
So that's it. When I read the question, I was laughing. I said, I would love to have her as my writing partner.
That's a very interesting choice. And actually, she would ensure your books finish on time. Like, if some writer is struggling at any time, she would ensure all of us meet our deadlines.
Yes.
Favorite word to use in poetry?
Time. I am enamored of time. I love the concept of time, right from our ancient history to present, even right now. We are time. You and I, we are recording this. We are time. It's time.
Lovely. One writing superstition, if you have any.
I don't know whether it's a superstition or not. I like to just kind of gaze outside the window or look up the ceiling, looking for inspiration. That's it. I mean, they say, you need to stare out of the window at times. So that's a superstition. Yeah, I do that quite often. And even at the risk of, looking weird, but I don't care.
What's the shortest time you've taken to write any work of yours? The quickest work?
Quickest? Poetry, we say?
Any work. Poetry,
Any work.
story, any work. What's the
If I
shortest
really
way?
get to it, if I really get to it, half an hour, an hour. If
Wow.
I write a short story, I'm pretty fast that way. I have this once, this, you do a deep dive, deep work, what they keep on talking about, no distractions. That's how you do it. That's how I've been evolving, if you can say. Yeah.
And what's the longest that your muse has deserted you for?
Oh, don't ask. Oh, it's been years. Oh, it's been years.
Okay, that's the most common struggle of any writer, I guess. So how do you deal with this writer's blocks?
I'm very bad with writer's block. I'll be very honest. It's that boring, that boring interlude. That is the writer's block for me, when there's nothing that makes sense, and there's this literally a huge block on my writing horizon, and there's nothing there. But then it's also fun, but you tend to notice so many things on the outside, which I think in the long run, they subconsciously, they wriggle it into your writing. So that's how I deal with my writer's block, is noticing other things, observing other things. And, as writers, we tend to notice everything, the side eye, the smirk, smile, the twitch and everything, and things happening outside, the bird flying by when you're thinking something and you say, oh my God, is that a sign? And then you go down the rabbit hole again and again and again. So that's how I deal with writer's block, and it's fun. I find it heavy and I find it enjoyable also. But I think that's the fun part of being a writer. That's the joy. That's why we write.
True.
That's why we write.
Very true. So this brings us to the last question. I actually find it very interesting that, you are a poet and a writer. And because I've seen that, both have very different styles of writing. Like poetry is a lot about brevity, about short words and about quick meanings, and about, in between the lines kind of meanings, that a lot is left to the reader, while stories actually have a lot to say, a lot to show, rather, not to say, but to show in the writing. And also, how do you balance this? Do you think either of them inspires the other or impacts the other, or there is a side where you say that, the poet Komal is now closed, now the writer Komal is on the table? How does it work?
That's a very good question. That is quite a struggle, from poetry. I write micro poems mostly. I like to keep it very short. I don't like to write those long ones, So yes, it's a struggle. But then my basis of writing, like you said, is poetry. From there, I have this where I can elongate. In fact, I've written a whole story based on a poem, 4 lines. I wrote a 2,000 word, and it got selected and won awards also. So I think that way I'm kind of lucky that way, that I can, go through realms of brevity into long form. So that's, I enjoy it also. It's fun. Again, it's fun.
That was lovely, Komal. Thank you so much. Would you like to share any closing thoughts to the viewers, to the listeners, about your work, about anything, about any message otherwise that you would want to give to them?
Yes, to all the writers and poets out there, we are on the same journey. I mean, in the end, we have to be true to ourselves and bring that out in our writing. Easier said than done, but please keep at it. That's how you be true to yourself. That's how you discover. That is the meaning of life. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Komal. It was brilliant having you here. I will be sharing all the links, all the social media links, and all the links to your works in the description box to this video. So anybody reading her book, please leave a feedback, because that's the best thing you could do for any writer. Leave a review, let them know that you enjoyed their work. Connect with them on their social media, and just help them spread the word about their writing.
Thank you.